Well, the books were published in 1930, the first book, Swallows and Amazons, and they've been in print ever since. And I think somehow that adventure of the children, two groups of children, having their own adventure and sailing on the lake to discover an island and camp on it, and then have a battle to control the island, just strikes a chord, has always struck a chord with audiences. I think that's the heart of it. Children doing something on their own without parents supervising them. It took me 4 years to find the boats. We got Swallow behind me, and we found Amazon up in the Lake District actually, and we decided to paint Amazon black to make it more piratical. And then at the last minute, our insurance company said we needed another one, so I had to find another boat at the last minute, which I found in Ireland. And of course sailing boats, and we wanted the sailing boats this time to be the right size. These are 14 feet. These are as close as we can find to Ransom's original boats. They were heavy boats built for the Royal Navy in the 1950s called Rensers. And the one thing about sailing is, of course, you're governed by the wind, and that in the Lake District is tricky. Here in Cowes, the wind tends to be from one direction, like now. Whereas in the lakes, the wind comes in and spins round the mountains. So you can change direction within 3 minutes, which makes it hard. And you go from very light winds, which won't power the boat, to very strong winds, which can, capsize a boat. So it is challenging. And of course, we had to teach the children to sail. We went right around the country looking for children, hundreds and hundreds of children. We narrowed it down to about 20, and then we went to a sailing club at Wembley in London, and we then narrowed it down further. Some of them clearly were a bit nervous, but the 6 children we chose, none of them were sailors actually, and we taught them to sail in their local sailing clubs. And then when we came up to the lakes, we gave them sailing lessons in Swallow and Amazon, so they were learning to sail old-fashioned boats with a different rig to the kind of modern boats that they were taught on in their sailing clubs. We had a meeting up with the Ransom Society up in Scotland at their AGM, and we talked quite at length about the boats. They were interested in how we'd found the boats. Boats like these are very hard to find. They're almost collectors. This is nearly 70 years old, the one behind me. And it took me, as I say, 4 years to find them. And they're called Rensers, built for the Royal Navy Sailing Association, to take round the world on battleships and destroyers and teach young naval ratings to sail proper sailing boats. We decided that for a family film like this to compete with the big Hollywood films effectively, we had to have another dimension. And because I'm a Ransom fan and have been for a long time, I knew that there was a story about him that, as well as being a writer and an adventurer and a sailor, he was in Russia to cover the Russian Revolution in 1917. And he was suspected by the Bolsheviks of being a British spy, and he was suspected by MI5 of being a Bolshevik agent. And it came out in the 1920s that he was actually a spy for MI6. And he married Leon Trotsky's secretary, which of course upped the whole feeling that he might be a double agent or something. But it came out that he really was an MI6 spy with a code name S76. So we put that strand into the film story with the blessing of the trustees of the Ransom estate. So they read the scripts at all stages and approved the changes that we made to the book. And I just think that when you see children having an adventure on their own without adult supervision, is just something very special, really, that in this modern day and age where children have electronics and iPads and iPhones, that the children then didn't, and they grew up in a different world, and they had to look after themselves and survive, really, in quite tricky conditions. The film goes nationwide on August the 19th. Studio Canal are distributing across the whole of the UK. We would just love families aged probably from 6 to about 86. I think you'll get children, parents and their grandparents. And I'm sure that people who sail, people who camp, people who have adventures will love the film.